Good day, I'm Dr. T and welcome to my home office. So this is once again continuing my series for inspiring or future faculty or new faculty. And one thing that usually doesn't get discussed a lot is budgeting. And I don't mean for like PI and running your lab. I have not done that. That's a big deal. I don't want to do that kind of thing. So I have nothing to comment on that. What I'm actually talking about is personal finances. And the reason that this actually needs to get brought up is that personal finances for faculty typically, not always, but typically are a little bit different than normal kind of careers. So once again, all the normal rules apply, all the normal kind of, try and limit debt, that kind of stuff, make a budget, etc. But we also have a little bit of a complication in that most faculty are paid on a 10-month schedule. Now, not all. Some, one of the jobs I had, I got paid every 2 weeks. It was weird. My entire career, except for those 3 years, I got paid on a 10-month contract. Okay, and so most of you probably know what a 10-month contract is. For those of you who don't, the idea is you get paid once a month, and you get paid typically August through May. Sometimes it's like half a payment on August, maybe half payment on May because you don't usually work the full August and May. And that means you don't get paid during June and July. And once again, you may have a light payment in May and August. So of course, this creates a bit of a cash flow issue. So full disclaimer, I'm not a financial planner, not a CPA, etc., but I do live with a 10-month contract. And so I just kind of want to convey how I handle the 10-month contract. Because once again, the summer can become a bit of an issue. A lot of schools do really a lot of work trying to make sure their faculty members get paid over the summer by teaching summer courses. However, demand for summer courses can be fairly fluctuating. Some years I've maxed out my summer courses. Other years they've barely made. This current year I'm currently slated to teach 3 of them. One made, one half made barely. So I'm getting paid I believe 50% of what I would normally get paid for that course. And the other class has literally 1 student in it. And so I don't know if I'm going to get paid like a 10th of what I would get paid for that course, or it's just not going to happen. Obviously, I'll do it for the 10th, to help the 1 student, but not my call. So with this in mind, we want to make sure we're saving for summer. So what I do is I create my bank accounts, and I create several, and I've got like half a dozen of them, but really the core is around 2 of them. You got your checking account, which is the money I'm going to spend this month, and then I've got my summer savings account. Now I've got a couple other savings accounts for special things, emergency fund, home repair fund, that kind of stuff. I'm going to kind of ignore those and focus in on kind of the 2 cores. Okay, so payday happens, or as I like to call it, the day of reckoning. Coming back from kind of the medieval idea that, every 6 months or so, everyone would reconcile all the books and, everyone would run on a tab and then, pay off their debts every, 6 months or so. So the idea here is, okay, payday happens probably end of the month, maybe beginning of the month. Every school's got slightly different policies. And so I have set my direct deposit. Some of my money goes into my checking account, and then approximately 20% of my take-home pay goes into what I call my summer account. It's actually a little bit more because I shuffle around a few bills with that. That's what I would pay rent or mortgage from, that kind of stuff. But the general idea is 20% of my take-home pay is going into that summer account. And that way, over 10 months, if you're saving 20%, that's going to give you 2 months worth of pay saved up in that summer account. That's June and July. Now, of course, that does mean you have to think ahead and sort things out. So, of course, payday happens, day of reckoning, money moves over into the summer account, I pay off all the credit cards, that kind of thing, and we're good to go. Now, summer happens. One of 2 scenarios happens. One, I get no summer classes, or very, very few, and I'm going to live off of that summer savings, which is why it's there. And that way, hey, if I don't get any classes, if one summer I decide, you know what, forget it, I do not want to teach this summer. Because most times summer classes are quasi-optional. You're kind of expected, but you could say no. And yay. Now, typically, I'd rather not do that. Instead, I'd rather work for those summer classes. That way I get a summer income, and ideally, that's going to be enough that I don't actually need to touch that summer savings account. And at this point, now all of a sudden I have money in a savings account. So at the beginning of August or early September, depending on exactly how my 10-month contract's set up, it has varied from school to school. But for me now, it would be mid-August. Once classes are getting ready to start, and once I'm starting the new 10-month contract, then the money in that account, I've got a couple options. One, I just sweep that into a different account like the emergency fund. I use that to pay off any debts that I have. I swipe that into the IRA, that kind of thing. Or over the summer, of course, I know that I'm going to get paid. I know how much I'm going to get paid. So I'm like, okay, I don't need this account. I can use this to remodel my house where I wasn't going to otherwise. I can use this for a trip. Say I'm teaching a May and June class. That means July is open to travel. So, hey, I can go travel, assuming there's not a plague going on or something. And thus, I've got spare money that I have saved aside, but I don't actually need. And that's a much better position to be in than to have a need for money that you haven't saved. And this, of course, is good kind of discipline to kind of, make sure you have a budget and try and, live within 80% of your take-home pay. And that gives you, a bit of buffer room. Now, a couple other random pieces of advice. I encountered this from the Financial Diet. I'll try and link their YouTube channel down here. But a cloud-based software known as Mint, which is a great budgeting tool. I've really enjoyed doing that. Keeps track of the accounts, etc. that I've got. I can figure out where my money's going. And it's like, I spent how much at Walmart? Oh boy. And, thus allows me to, knowledge allows you to control. And so knowledge is power, kind of the classic. The other one, and this is really a question, so hopefully one of my viewers is a CPA and would love to make a follow-up video on this one. But one of the questions I actually have, and this is what I'm going to end the video with, is emergency funds. So typical advice is 3 to 6 months emergency fund, more like 6 months if you're doing more of kind of gig work and it's, your financials can go up and down a lot. Close to the 3 months if you do a nice contract job where your finances are very stable. Well, as an academic, I've got a contract. My finances are very stable unless I wouldn't continue my job the next year. So let's say enrollment at my school goes down horribly and they're like, you know what, we're cutting someone. I don't have tenure. I'm a lecturer. I'm gone. If they let me know at, say, May, all of a sudden, hey, fall's coming up. All the positions for fall should be filled by now. Positions usually are like a full year turnaround. So this like, oh no, my emergency fund almost needs to last me a full year, but that's an awful lot for emergency fund because emergency funds are very conservatively invested. So the question, of course, I have is, well, how much does an academic need for an emergency fund? I mean, it's at least 3 months, but is it 12? So ending on that, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in later videos.